Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for this recording of the Rice Street Capital Area Reconstruction Project Open House. We're going to start this presentation with a special poem by one of our Rice Street Engagement Team members, Malik Curtis, also known as Juice Lord. He is a MC, poet, actor, and educator from here in St. Paul, Minnesota. Raised in the Rondo community by older parents who instilled strong values of respect, love, and community, he grew up with a belief that it takes a village to uplift one another. Malik?
Okay, greetings everyone. The poem I have for you guys is called A Field of Dreams. Here we go. Like roses that grow from the concrete, Rice Street has a field of dreams, where many kings and queens roam and call home. Through hardships, differences, the love has grown. Long live Bones, Rice Street's very own. When I think of Rice Street, I think of my youth, the community that nurtured and guided us innocent children through things we were oblivious to. Martial arts at Washington, where kids with dreams went to school. Batting cages, where the Winfields gave us the space for us to swing through that trauma or things that we faced. Mamas in coffee cup fed us, and with each meal we gave thanks. Rice Street has a field of dreams, better yet, dreamers that simply needs more resources and places where the creators and community can plan. Time is always flying each time we blink. So let's water the land so the roots don't dry out and the garden can expand. A field of dreams where dreamers in Rice Street advance.
Thanks, Malik. I now resume the regular presentation. The project summary and goals. The project area is Rice Street from Pennsylvania Avenue down to the John Ireland Boulevard intersection. This project has been underway for a while and has established a series of important goals that reflect the broader mission. As Malik talked about, this project goes beyond just a roadway project to look at the community as a whole. The goals include improving pedestrian safety and access, improving transit and multimodal operations, improving vehicle safety and operations, as well as a number of other community-oriented goals, including designing for existing and changing land uses, improving bike ped access, developing a mobility hub, more on what that means later, designing an enhanced and sustainable public realm, and utilizing partnerships that have a transparent process to build community ownership and trust. The project timeline, this project has been underway since fall of 2024, when we first started gathering feedback on Rice Street through this segment. It will continue throughout the years through 2027, where it starts construction. We're currently midway at the point of talking about the recommended design for the corridor and gathering input before we progress into a more final design phase later this year. You can expect to hear back from us again later on, late this year or early next. As we get closer to the construction timeline, we'll have more details about the final project and about what construction phase will look like. Speaking of construction, we understand, of course, this project isn't happening in isolation. There are many other projects in this area, and assured that we've been talking with these project managers and teams to make sure that the project is well coordinated, both through the design, engagement phases, as well as during the construction in cases where there's an overlap between the projects. The MLK Boulevard Community Commons area on the Capitol grounds, the Metro Transit G line, which follows Rice Street through the section and is incorporated in our design, the replacement of the John Ireland Bridge, which is currently under construction, Rice Street reconstruction, which is north of here, the phases that are already underway, Capital City bikeway connections throughout the downtown area, which are connecting on the southern end of our corridor, the future of the Sears site redevelopment to the west of the corridor, and the Waukesha Capital City bikeway project, which is being coordinated closely. Speaking of timing and construction, Rice Street is being constructed in multiple phases. Starting with phase 1 in 2025, We Lot to Maryland was completed last year. This year in spring, from Maryland to Sycamore and the Pennsylvania intersection will be progressing once it's time for construction to start. And then this project phase in 2027 from Sycamore to Pennsylvania and from Pennsylvania to John Ireland will be completed during that time period. All of these construction communications are being communicated through the same project team, and As mentioned later, please be sure to sign up for updates so that you can get the latest information throughout this process. I'm turning it over to Abigail to give you an update on the engagement to date.
Great. Thank you. My name is Abigail, and I am an engagement specialist on this project. So I will be running through some of the things we heard in our most recent phase of community engagement. From March to July 2025, we had a number of engagement activities. We hosted 9 pop-up events. We had an online survey and comment map, as well as an in-person virtual open house, much like this one. And at these events and through these methods, we were asking folks about 3 different design options for the corridor and what they would most like to see on Rice Street. So the first concept, as a refresher for those who didn't join us last time, or, it's been a while, you forget these things, was a two-way cycle track. So this looks like a two-way bikeway through the entirety of Rice Street. Some of the benefits of that was it was clearly marked where bikes and peds are supposed to be, but it also takes up more space on the corridor, which especially would have constraints north of University Avenue, where the road right-of-way is a bit narrower. The second concept was a shared use path. This takes up less space than the two-way bikeway, which would leave room for other amenities such as trees. However, one challenge there is potential for conflicts between bicycles and pedestrians, which is something we heard as a concern from community members. The third concept we asked folks about last phase was a hybrid approach of the 2 different designs. So this would have the two-way bicycle track south of University where the right-of-way is wider, and then going down to a shared use path north of University where we have more constrained roadway space. When we asked folks about these designs, we asked them to rank them based on driving safety and access, bicycle safety and access, pedestrian, transit user, and general public space. And so we saw that concept 1 received the highest overall scores, especially in the bicycle safety and access category. We saw that concept 2, the shared use path, ranked lowest overall, and that concept 3 was in the middle. It performed especially well for driving safety and access, pedestrian safety and access, and public space, knowing that there's a little bit more room with the shared use path being narrower. Other questions we asked folks during our last phase of engagement was what they wanted to prioritize north of University Avenue, where we don't have quite as much space. And so what we heard from that was people really wanted to see public space amenities, and the two-way bikeway or shared use path were essentially tied in terms of what kind of bicycle improvements people wanted to see. We also asked folks what they would like to see in a mobility hub. A mobility hub is a place where people can connect with several forms of transportation, such as public transit, a bike or scooter share, and car share. These areas can also include additional pedestrian and multimodal amenities. And so when we asked people about what they'd like to see in a space like this, trees and greenery really took the cake as what people prioritized in this area. That was followed by tables, chairs, and benches, so places to sit, hang out, and public art was also a priority. Some additional things that we heard from folks, definite calls for safety and accessibility. That's been a priority from the community throughout engagement. People wanted to see traffic calming interventions to slow down speeds in this area, wanted to see clear integration with transit, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We also heard concerns about potential on-street parking loss for businesses and roadway construction impacts, and emphasis on, the safety and livability of the neighborhood as a whole. And once again, we heard a strong call for making sure there's space for public space, greenery, and things like seating and public art. So with that, I will hand it over to Cody, who will talk about the recommended design.
Thanks, Abigail. Hi, Cody Christensen, principal engineer with Bolton and Menk, and deputy project manager working with Hyla on the project. So, talk through a bit on where we landed with the recommended design. So, Abigail gave a good highlight on what we heard from the public. Taking that along with the City of St. Paul and Ramsey County priorities and initiatives. The recommended design was that hybrid concept or concept three that utilizes a shared use path for the bicycle and pedestrian facility north of University, and then separating the two modes with the cycle track south of University. Both segments of the corridor will have one lane of traffic in each direction, with some left turn lanes in the center. There are some medians in the northern segment at Charles Avenue to provide that pedestrian refuge island so that those pedestrians only have to cross one lane of traffic at a time. And there's another set of medians on this other portion south of the Fuller Avenue by the parking ramps that also helps keep passenger vehicles from driving around the buses at those BRT stations. This also gives us the boulevard space to give ample opportunities to improve the corridor greening and trees. So like I said, this one really kind of met both the community priorities as well as the city and county's considerations. So it does improve bicycle and pedestrian safety throughout the corridor, providing that off-street bicycle facility connecting the capital on the south to Ramsey County and northern St. Paul on the north side. We've brought in a number of design elements that help slow traffic, medians, reducing travel lanes, also gives space for on-street parking in the northern segment. There's existing on-street parking today, so we're able to preserve as much of that as possible. So where there are on-street parking today, there will be some in this future corridor consideration as well. And then just again, really supporting the county's commitment to an all abilities network through Rice Street. And really making sure we provide that space for green, green stormwater, as well as snow storage and maintenance. So just gonna run through a couple of high level graphics on what the corridor is looking like. So here's an example of that, the corridor north of University. So on the top of the screen in that dark gray would be that shared use path. Then you have the boulevard where we have space for trees. You also see at Como, there are the BRT stations, as well as kind of some local bus stops along too, and we'll talk about transit a little bit later on. And then you see sidewalk on the east side or on the bottom of the screen, where we have opportunities to keep some on-street parking and still provide new trees and corridor greening. And this is the median I was talking about at Charles Avenue that provides those pedestrian refuge islands. So on the other side of University, so this is south of Aurora. To the bottom right is the state office building. To the top is the old Sears site. So here you have the two-way cycle track and sidewalk on the top. And where those cross at Aurora is a raised crosswalk, and then the driveway into the Sears site. And then there's another set of BRT stations on the left there near the MnDOT Transportation Building. But here again, opportunities for greening, trees, wide boulevards that also helps with snow storage and snow maintenance. And then lastly here was kind of the south end of the corridor at John Ireland Boulevard. So as the corridor starts to turn, thinking about orientation to the bottom right, if you were looking that way, that would face the Capitol building. To the left or upper left is across John Ireland Boulevard towards the cathedral. So here we are kind of shifting that intersection further away from the bridge. That helps with some of our multimodal connections through the intersection. We also have the connection to the Wabasha Extension CCB at the bottom of the screen there, one of those coordinated projects we were talking about. Also, again, kind of reducing the overall width of Rice Street and the connection to Rondo, making that a slower movement for people walking and biking to cross that intersection. So we've mentioned the Metro Transit G line, so that future bus rapid transit will be coming down Rice Street. As I mentioned, there are 3 of those stations in this corridor. You can see on the right with the red T's, those are at Como University, and what we're calling Central, or kind of just across from that transportation building. So the graphic here kind of shows example of what that northbound station at University will be with the state office building in the background. So these BRT stations, typical amenities include bike racks, benches, waste and recycling receptacles, heated and lit shelters, and pylons with some real-time signage. These stations are meant for a fairly quick onboarding and a lighting operation. You pay your fare on the station itself instead of on the bus. The curbs are also a little higher, so the buses don't have to kneel down if there are any accessibility passengers getting on. That is kind of what those will look like along the corridor. And then lastly here, talking about that Ryerson University Mobility Hub. So again, this is meant to be a way of gathering multiple modes of transportation in an area. We have the existing Green Line LRT. We're bringing in bus rapid transit on the G line, bringing in a new bicycle facility. Lots of people coming to and going from the capital area. So we are developing an overall concept on how some of those things come together, looking at both Lot AA to the west of Rice Street, south of University. Again, looking at ways we can connect to the BRT platform, looking at how we can provide opportunities for the community gathering, for just general public spaces outside of the capital area, as well as looking at any future kind of green stormwater, how we can manage runoff in the area and treat that before it gets to the Mississippi and Minnesota rivers.
Next up, we're going to have a couple pop-up events in the community. Next one will be at Thursday, March 19th from 4:30 to 7. Stop by anytime during that window at the Capitol Commons, which is some new space on Rice Street at 546 Rice. There'll be people available, on board you can peruse, and just a chance to sort of learn about the project informally. I think we'll have some creative artistic people there as well, perhaps with an activity or two. There'll be another final design check-in point later. We don't have that scheduled yet, but make sure to sign up for updates and we'll let you know when that is. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Please make sure to visit our website at ramseycounty.us/Capitol Rice Street to learn more about this project. And don't forget to sign up for email updates on the website. This will keep you informed about this project in its current phase and also future construction activities up and down the corridor. At any time, you can also reach out to Nick Fisher, who's our project manager at Ramsey County, or Anna Potter, who's our project lead with the City of St. Paul, who have both been working jointly on this project. Again, we appreciate your input and appreciate your participation in this project and look forward to improvements in the corridor in the future.